It's time for TWiT episode 284. We're going to discuss Google's addition to abandoned H.264, our CES post-mortem, and a whole lot more. In fact, a reunion with my old friend from radio, Gina Smith. Brian Brushwood's here too. Dwight Silverman as well. TWiT is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Audio bandwidth for This Week in Tech is provided by Winamp for Android, the ultimate media player for your desktop and Android device, featuring wireless sync. Download it free at winamp.com/Android. Video bandwidth for TWiT is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 284, recorded Sunday, January 16th, 2011. Dónde está Leo's grave? This Week in Tech is brought to you by Ford, introducing the all-new 2012 Ford Focus Electric with voice-activated sync and My Ford Touch, featuring gas-free power, zero CO2 emissions, and battery management technology that lets you go the distance. Learn more at focuselectricpower.com. And by audible.com. Sign up for the Platinum plan and get 2 free books. Go to audible.com/twit2. And don't forget to follow Audible on Twitter, user ID audible_com. And by Go to Assist Express. If you're in tech support, clients rely on you for fast and reliable service. Help them the easy way with Go to Assist Express. For a free 30-day trial, visit gotoassist.com/twit. So, Dwight, I should call you.
Yeah, yes.
Dwight, you are now no longer outnumbered, because on this show we have from Austin, Texas, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brian Brushwood.
Texas represents. That's right.
On this show from Jacksonville, Florida, from the Panhandle, which is the deepest south you could get, Mrs. Gina Smith.
I was born in Jacksonville, Florida.
Were you? I was born in Daytona Beach, but I live in San Francisco, to be clear.
Oh, well, that has completely ruined your cachet, darling. And
one glass of wine brings it right
so
back.
I apologize. Daytona Beach, not Jacksonville.
That's true.
Daytona Beach. And, ladies and gentlemen, of course, from Houston, Texas, weighing in at 240 links and knockwurst, Mr. Dwight Silverman.
I wish that's all it was.
Well, it depends on how much a knockwurst weighs. That's doesn't it? So
I'm doing what you were doing, Leo. I'm trying to lose weight and using Twitter to do it. I set up an account called 50 pounds by June, and that's my goal. And I'm trying to lose 50 pounds. I tweet my weight every day and sometimes what I'm eating and kind of the struggles of trying to find the food I want. And it's working. I'm losing weight. So, yeah, making Twitter keep you honest.
How many so far?
I've lost 4 pounds. I started it Monday. I've lost 4 pounds. I have a goal of 2 pounds a week through the end of June. That's
public accountability is one of the most powerful tricks, psychological tricks you can use for that. They've done experiments where they make people.
It's called shame.
Yeah. Well, it's that social proof. You want to be consistent with what you've said in the past, and if you do it in public, you know, that kind of pledge really works.
I have to say though, that there are so many fatties now looking to be shamed on Twitter. There's no longer much shame left.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't have to find the Twitter account losing 50 by June 25847.
You can always lie later.
So I should, you know, we've
Photoshop your picture and lie.
We talked a little bit before the show, but I think I should mention that Gina has never been on TWiT before, not through any fault of my own. I've been trying to get her on the show since 2005. She is my old friend, my co-host from radio, my co-author of my first book, my co-host of my first TV show, former ABC technology correspondent, former CEO of Nick Computing, author of Steve Wozniak's autobiography, co-author, I guess I should say. And currently, she's starting up Byte magazine, Byte.com.
That is so huge. I feel so small.
Reincarnating that old lady.
She is a witch of the first order, Gina Smith. It's so good to see you again. I missed you at CES. We missed each other. It's just been ages.
It has been ages. You know, you and I hosted a radio show together. We saw each other every Sunday for so many years, and my life has been, well, there's been a vacuum in my life.
Oh dear. And now and so it begins.
and now it fills. And now I feel fulfilled.
Good. Well, so good.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on. And I think, you know, in your capacity as editor-in-chief of Byte Magazine, I hope you'll come back more. And maybe we should talk about a Byte podcast, because that would be fun. Maybe you and Jerry and John, and we could just do a Byte show. Would be really fun.
Could there be a section of the podcast where they just say aloud all the lines to a basic program for you to type in at home?
10.
Go to
20. That would be fun.
That would be hilarious.
I used to. It was Compute Magazine that would always have those. The
I remember code. I used to get. I think it was Enter Magazine. It was the kids version that eventually got folded into 321 Contact. I mean, I remember my parents spent hours and hours typing in.
Such a pain in the ass.
But it was so rewarding. I mean, those are the magic days, man. You had an incredible gizmo that you could program. And then going in there and changing little things. So the word said, instead of the end, I had to say "you suck." You know, it was awesome.
But let me ask you, because I was talking to Richard Hart, who you all know. He hosted The Next Step, and before that, CNET Television. And I
hosted a show with Richard Hart on CNET.
Well, there you go.
Remember that? Yeah.
And he's now teaching television production at the Academy of Art in San Francisco. And I said, "Oh, that must be great, Richard." I saw him at Showstoppers at CES. That must be great. You get to talk to kids who are really into technology, really understand. He said, "You know, you'd be surprised. Kids today, they don't have the wonder that we had growing up. They never typed in any basic code. They don't see technology as something unusual or exciting or magical. For them, it's commonplace, and so they don't have the same deep understanding that we had to have."
I don't know. I think they get the same wonder for playing with the technology, for doing. I mean, you see that. I mean, just on something as rudimentary as YouTube, people really enjoy trying to.
Well, it's different, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
instead of knowing a command line or how to format a disk, they know how to edit video.
Yeah, exactly. They know how to tell complicated stories, and they know how to write these tutorials for each other. For them, it's the wonder of like, holy crap, I got 30,000 people checking out my shooting a gun tutorial. And then that, I mean, how advanced is that over, 10, go to 20 from back in our day?
Well, Brian, this is such a really excellent point, because I guess in our generation, when we were doing this, we were talking about, the technology, and the newer generation who was giving trophies, whether or not they, were on the team or not, was always told, you're great, you won, even if you lost. This generation coming up, it's all about me. Meaning it's all about them. So the most interesting thing for them is, I want a fan page.
And that's a good point, too. In our day, you could win a regional trophy for your T-ball skills. Nowadays, if you want to tell a story on the internet, you are competing with the entire globe.
Ooh, it's a little tougher.
I think it's
a little
fascinating.
Tougher. You got Angry Orange to compete with. It's not easy.
Exactly.
There's a talking orange that could, whip your butt.
I know it could whip mine.
Yeah, I guess here's my question. There's always been a percentage of people interested in this stuff. And so there certainly are still kids who know how to format a hard drive, and they all listen to this show, so they're mad as hell at me for saying that right now. And I'm sure that there's plenty of kids out there who are deeply interested and enthusiastic about technology, but I just wonder if the percentage is different. I wonder really, if you grow up with this stuff, we weren't. There was no wonder in the television set for our.
Exactly.
So we didn't get so excited about it as I'm sure my parents did.
Except I think there's always a group of people who want to know how it works.
There's always going to be that.
Right. They want to dive in and they want to figure out how it works. And those are the ones who end up making it work better later.
Right. And thank goodness, because if that weren't the case, it'd be idiocracy. We'd be all sitting here with technology nobody knew how to use or fix or improve.
Well, there's that too.
And I think
that's here too.
Yeah.
I think it's important also to acknowledge the difference between the dumbing down of society and the fragmentation of our knowledge base, right? There are kids out there who don't know how to defrag a hard drive, but they are experiencing the joy of having written their own app for the App Store. They don't understand proper maintenance of their computer, but that's something I'll never get around to doing.
I'll give you that. That's absolutely true.
But I'll tell you something just to add to this, and back to memory lane, Leah. You and I were once in a hotel room, and we had never seen the web before. Some guy came to our hotel room in Vegas and said, here is the first web page on the internet, because before that, there was no web. And you and I looked at each other and said, should we buy up all the web names? No, that wouldn't be ethical.
Wasn't that stupid of us? We sat here. We could have bought sex.com. We could have bought TV.com.
All of it. We decided not to because it wouldn't be ethical as journalists. Ethics
What
before
the
billions.
hell?
Ethics smash.
This show has ended up being a saga of missed opportunities. We were talking before the show began about how both Gina and I got offered 10,000 shares of CNET stock for 10 grand when we first consulted for them, and there was only 2 guys doing it. And we both said, nah.
And we took the money instead of the stock.
Actually, that was the last time I listened to Dvorak. That's when he said, nah, they're never going anywhere. They're history.
Me too. I don't listen to him as a rule now as a result of that. He also said the same thing when Apple stock dived.
Yeah.
Don't buy Apple stock. Apple's dead.
On the day that Apple went public, I bought 10 shares and kept it for like 3 or 4 years. And at one point, shortly after they went public, it started to go down. I think I bought it at like 25, and it went down to like 21 and 19. And I thought, oh, I better get rid of this turkey. And I did. And I went back and looked the other day.
You know, Apple could never really, I mean, okay, what did you lose? It couldn't have possibly gone over $35, could it?
No, well, it didn't, but if I had held on to it, it would be worth,
obviously.
I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, let's put it that way.
Oh, I see. So obviously you get some money and you're too good for Leo Laporte.
All right, excuse me. You. Oh, so you're only in it for the money.
He's getting
I'm in
those
it for
TWiT
you,
dollars.
Leo. I was in it for the money.
Boy, are you on the wrong show.
Yes.
Holy cow.
Holy cow.
He's in it for the money, folks. Actually, this show, you're not in it for the money because I have no idea what the commercials are, and my entire staff is in New York City. So, no commercials. I'm announcing it.
Hey.
What?
It's a commercial-free TWiT. And apparently I've got the number wrong, too. Is it 284?
That's what the doc says. Could be a holdover. Although, you know what? Actually, I'm looking at the doc. Well, it jumps from 284 to 282 to 279. So I have no idea
what's going on. Let's talk about tech. You know, it's funny. We all were at CES.
Yes.
And I guess it would be apropos at this time to ask each and every one of you, now that you've had a week to decompress, what your impressions were of this year's Consumer Electronics Show. Let's start with Schwood.
Well, as you know, this was my first CES, and I'm betting this is a surprise only to me, and that it's a surprise to no one else. The most exciting thing about actually going to CES is meeting in meet space with all these other names that you only know by reputation and over Skype. It that overshadowed all the. I thought all the major announcements were kind of a snore. It was all 3D social media tablets. Some of my favorite stuff came from these small, cheap booths in the back. As I've already said before, my favorite thing is the speakers that screw into your light socket. That
was a cool product that I didn't see. If it weren't for you, I would not have known about it.
Yeah, it's just novel. I mean, it's that old school ingenuity that I enjoyed, but it's an amazing experience. I really look forward to going back and experiencing again. I wonder how long so many products are going to stay under just one umbrella. It really was like 5 shows in one. You had an auto show in one hall. You had a small, clever electronic show in another hall. You had a little bit of game stuff in another hall. It almost doesn't. It's almost too big of an idea now for me.
That actually, Gina, I think you will vouch for this. Gina was popped my cherry. Was it 93, 94? You took me to Las Vegas for the first time, and Comdex. It wasn't CES. But that's exactly.
Yeah, I think we've been in 90,000 of them.
Yeah, you'd been to them all. But that was exactly my experience. It was like I'm seeing and meeting all these people that I only see in Twitter. But now it's Twitter and Facebook. But at the time it was writers from PC Magazine and other magazines. I just it was so exciting.
Yeah, I think.
Well, for Information Week and Byte.com this time, this was the first time I didn't get to go to parties or schmooze or see the people like he just said. We actually took 60, 70, 80 video demos of stuff on the floor. We worked constantly and saw a ton of stuff. And you're right, it was all about tablets. It was all about auto tech. But I saw this thing, this inventor had this kinetically charged device. It kind of looked like a vertical.
I have it. I'm going to
roll.
show it on Regis and Kelly on Tuesday.
Right on.
You put
This thing is amazing.
You put it in your backpack.
Well, it bounces up.
Yeah, the jiggling.
Well, you got it. The jiggling up and down harnesses the kinetic energy, and you just walk around the block and you can plug in your iPhone. I mean, how cool is that? And the inventor came up with the idea while he was hiking the Appalachian Trail, and walk. He thought, how could I harness this energy? And he's patented that thing up, and I think that's going to be huge.
It's the N-Power Peg.
Yeah, and RealNetworks announced Unify. Did you guys see that?
No, it's funny because their suite was on the same floor as my hotel room, and I walked by that suite every day of the week. And did I ever go in? And you know why I didn't go in, Gina Smith? Because it's freaking RealNetworks. I don't want anything to do with those sons of... So you know what I'm talking about, Brian.
No,
I mean, where I'm coming from.
You elitist, sir.
You
They're
know
hardworking people at RealNetworks.
Those creeps installed more junk on my system over the last 20 years. I don't want it. But apparently this Unify is good. Tell me about it, Gina.
Well, Unify is a cloud-based service. So it's UNIF.
What could be wrong with that?
All right. So except for Jive Software went down yesterday, and like the whole world went down.
What went down? What went down?
Jive Software, which powers the wikis at like giant corporations.
Oh dear.
The one I work for.
Oh dear.
UVM. So yeah, what could go down? Clouds can go down. But Unify was interesting. You can upload all your photos, videos, and music up into the cloud, and then download them to any device for, they said, between $5 and $10 a month. They announced in March.
It's Dropbox. That sounds like Dropbox. How much storage do they give you?
Unlimited.
Oh, okay. So it's Dropbox $10 a month for 50 gigs.
Unlimited, and it works on any device. I mean, there've been a lot of promise, and you're right. Dropbox is kind of like been going in that
Dropbox.
direction.
Yeah.
See, I don't understand why businesses with established brand identities get into vastly different.
This is so different.
Other different.
I think of Real as a media player.
Well, and plus one that is generally viewed with skepticism and dislike. It seems like why not launch a new brand? I don't understand the importance of why tie Real to this idea.
They're casting about for relevance is what they're doing. They're trying to find something that makes them relevant after they no longer are. And this is tangentially related to it. I mean, it's music, it's audio, so it's tangentially related. What I want to know is, that sounds an awful lot like the original incarnation of MP3.com, which got shut down by the music labels.
Oh, because you will upload your commercial music,
and then you can play it anywhere. That was the idea.
The difference with MP3.com, if I remember the original scheme with MP3.com, happened at a time when bandwidth was so tight that you didn't want to actually have to upload your music to MP3.com. So instead, what you could do is, the scheme that got them in trouble is your physical media disc. It would read the Redbook audio data. It would realize this is definitely a copy of Tones on Tail from 1982, and it would say, you now have access to that album on ours. So, but since it wasn't technically you ripping your own CD and then uploading it to them, it was technically them making available to you a copy of the music that you did not purchase. And then, even though it's the exact same data, it's all the same digital bits, they nailed them on that, and that's how it got shut down, as I understood it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Real, I mean, if you hate him or don't like him, or you hate him or you love him, Rob Glazer, who I've known since
who is gone, who exited in a huff last year.
Well, he's huffy. He's a huffy guy.
He rides a huffy bike.
But, I mean, they were the first to do audio on the internet, and they're the first for a lot of things. And so it made sense that they were the first to offer Unify.
I guess.
I do a lot of far-reaching things, but
I wonder.
Enough about those guys.
So Unify and the N-Power Peg are your picks, Gina. Dwight.
Yeah, I like that, and I like to say, for the MacBook Air, there's a company called Otherworld Computing who had a 360 gigabyte tiny SSD.
I need that.
Did you see that?
No, I knew they were going to show it, but how much was it?
It was expensive.
Yeah,
it was over $1,000, I think. But they've got
more than the
smaller
Air
versions. But it's the exactly. But it's larger. I mean, it's the largest capacity device available for SSD. Apple doesn't sell something this big, and Apple's got to be pissed.
$1,200.
I believe so.
Yeah,
what are you looking it up?
Yeah, no. Gina, there's this thing. She's new to the show, kids. Forgive her.
Called Google.
It's called the chat room. I know.
Oh, thank you.
You may remember I used to Google things. I don't Google anymore. I've externalized my brain.
You have a prosthetic brain.
Everything.
slaves.
I don't need. There's 1,000 people in here. Just give me a question. Any question? Ask
Hive mind. Ask the hive mind. What do you want to know, Gina?
This is a new feature on
All right.
TWiT. Ask the hive mind.
What is the founder of Otherworld Computing famous for?
All right, now
Otherworld
here's the trick.
Is
This
the
is
one
when-
who makes that little drive.
Okay.
This is when I interrupt and ask a couple of related questions to Leo to buy just enough time for the hive mind to do its thing. So now that we have a moment, before we get to your answer,
Wait a minute. You're
Gina,
saying the answer is not horse porn?
What?
Okay, that was okay.
Stuff. We've got Larry O'Connor.
We know his name now. He's famous
Karaoke?
for karaoke. He's well
O'Connor.
calculating, working.
Resistance is futile.
Okay, my brain is not as effective as it used to be.
Donkey Kong. The answer is OMG, I'm on TWiT. That's my favorite.
Okay, but Cuba is actually the right answer. And
Larry O'Connor is kind of this weird Michael Dell character. When he was in high school in 1984, he was actually selling memory chips, not Sims, but memory chips out of his high school dorm room.
see, this is why I love Gina, because she not only does she know this stuff, she knows these people. And she probably hung out with Michael or whatever his name is.
Michael Dell?
No, I know Michael. We hung out with Michael Dell. I do remember that.
And now he's boring. He used to be
I doubt Michael remembers that though.
He remembers.
Do you remember when we got in the car and with Ed Iacobucci?
And crashed the car?
Crashed the car. Never mind. We shouldn't talk about it. Hey, let's take a. I'm telling you. Gina introduced me to the world of the technology conference. You remember the time that we ate Kobe beef on Ziff Davis's dime, and you explained how to hide the boots on this on the
Hide the boots.
hide the boots.
This
on
is
the
where I
expense
learned
report.
that term.
Hide the boots. Well, guess who taught me how to hide the boots?
Wow.
Gina Smith,
That's why
baby.
She's
Ziff
the
Davis is
godfather
out
of TWiT.
business.
Gina, it all comes back to Gina, frankly. Everything in technology. All right, we're gonna
It's all
okay.
about me.
We're gonna do one more thing about CES. Then we're never gonna mention its name again till next year.
I'm down with that.
All right.
And we'll let
Thank God.
and we'll let you put the coda on this Dwight Silverman. What do you think? Your impressions after 1 week later of CES?
You know, I skipped last year. I didn't go in 2010. I skipped last year, and I went again this year. And it had the whiff to me of Comdex. I was at the last Comdex before it imploded, and it's too big. I think that it's gotten to the point where it's very difficult to get anything done if you are certainly there by yourself, and if you have a team, you know, it's hugely expensive. So I'm not sure how long it's going to survive. I'll say a Dvorak thing, and I think CES is doomed.
Really? It was the biggest CES ever. It was 160,000 geeks.
It was the biggest Comdex before Comdex went down, too.
Well, that's a good
I think
point.
it's too big.
Yeah.
And now that said, there were some cool things. I think people are not quite getting how big Android tablets are going to be. I'm a big iPad fan, but having seen kind of what's coming and both what was there in the hopper,
They were everywhere.
I think, they're everywhere and they're good. And I think that you're going to see kind of a fundamental change in the way the masses do computing, and it's not going to come from Apple. I think it's going to ultimately come from Android. And again, I love the iPad, but I think what's happening to the iPhone is going to easily happen to the iPad. And I also loved, in terms of just the coolest little thing, was this little ball toy called Sphero.
I love
Saw that
Sphero.
too.
Yeah.
Sphero was awesome. It's a little ball that's controlled by an iPhone or Android app, and you drive the ball around on the floor. A friend of mine called it 101 ways to drive a cat insane. and I want a Sphero. It has no point at all.
None at all.
It glows and it bobbles around, and I just want it just because I want it. It's cool.
Can I just say real quick, I think Dwight is dead on the money because of a complaint that I heard actually on the TWiT panel saying that CES has become the worst possible time to make any kind of announcement because there's so much, it gets lost in the shuffle. And that's when you're losing money on the table. And I don't see, if it is to survive, I think it would behoove them to do a South by Southwest thing where a few days of track 1, a few days of track 2, and a few days of track 3, where you actually expand it, maybe reduce the size of the show floor, but rotate out the stock over time so you get more announcements of greater significance that can be heard by more people over a longer period of time.
Yeah, Brian, that's dead on. I mean, I think that's why CES this year did Showstoppers, an evening event where they showed a bunch of stuff that you might not have gotten to in the floor. Good stuff like that thing with the balls. Digital experience. I mean, there were Pepper's
they've always had those.
They do those every year.
Everybody's always done. I disagree with you guys 100%. I think that, for one thing, because there's 5,000 press there, yes, you're right. A lot of the releases get buried, but if you have a big release, it's a huge opportunity. So because the attention is there, and if you can manage to be one of the, say, the top 5 announcements at CES, you're going to get a lot of attention from that 5,000 press. I think there's something to be said for that. I don't know. I think CES felt vital, exciting. It felt like it was really a happening place. So,
Leo, you don't think that if somebody made a major announcement that was an important step forward in tech,
like an iPhone on Verizon, perhaps?
Well, notice, they waited to do that. They didn't do that during CES, and they could have. They could have done that during CES, but Apple didn't want to do it, and I think Apple's got the right approach there. And I just think that no matter what you do in terms of a large announcement, you're going to get press whether there's 5,000 people sitting in one room or not.
Yeah.
All right. But I don't think it's going anywhere. I think that, remember, the main point of CES is dealers come to meet vendors so that they can order for the next year. There's certainly a need for that. The reason a lot of trade shows have gone under is because the internet certainly is a better place for disseminating information, finding out facts.
Sure.
You don't really need trade shows unless, well, it's the spectacle of it. I just think it's really fun.
And one thing that never gets shown on even our coverage with TWiT is we don't bother to show you the 3 acres of temporary offices set up in the back because they're boring, they're not visual interesting. Yeah. But meanwhile, somebody's ordering 8 million screws from some other guy.
It's fun. I actually enjoy walking around CES, and when I see somebody's on a cell phone, I will get behind them, and it's always like, well, I can get you a deal on those. If you only order $250,000, I can get you a better deal if you order 300,000. I mean, that's really what those calls are going on, and you see them going on. Hey, somebody just said, now let's see if this works, that if I type in hide the boots on Google.
Oh, God. It's going to say my name.
The very first entry is TWiT episode 208.
Hide the boots.
And in which I talk about you, Gina, and the way that Ziff Davis encouraged people to buy expensive things but hide them on the expense report, and you taught me how to do that.
That'll give me a good reputation at my new company.
All I can say, David Berlind, is watch Gina like a hawk.
Stop it. But notice that we announced Byte.com the week before
CES.
CES.
No, maybe you guys are right. And I think that really it's, the Verizon thing is, we'll talk about the Verizon iPhone. That was actually the big story of CES, and it happened the next week.
Yeah, that's right.
Or the fact that it wasn't announced. I'll tell you there was another big story at CES, and it has to do a little bit with our sponsor, the folks at Ford. Ford chose to announce its electric Focus, not at CES, not at the Detroit Auto Show, which is going on right now, but at CES. It's interesting. They announced a new car at a consumer electronics show.
It shows how hip they are to new media. Number one, with their sponsorships, but also with their focus on the Ford Sync, and they understand that the type of people who are going to be excited about these new vehicles are the type of people who are following new media or are into tech.
Especially an electric vehicle. And now I want to tell you a little bit about the Ford Focus. Dvorak's going to get this, and I'm so piffed.
Is he going to get it?
No. Here's the deal. We had a little contest. Ford had a little contest to send listeners to Madrid to test drive the Ford Focus. And it turns out that test drive at the National Testing Center in Madrid, Spain, is the day before I get back from my trip to South America. I can't go. I'm in Machu Picchu that day. So they said, well, can you send Dvorak? And I said, yeah, I can send Dvorak. Sure. So I asked John, I said, hey, John, how'd you like to go to Madrid and test drive the Ford Focus? He says, yeah, there's 3 paintings at the Prado I haven't seen. I'm going to go.
That's nice.
That's nice.
He has the life.
Anyway, I'm glad because we have a number of listeners who are going to Madrid to test drive the Ford Focus. It's exciting, and each of them will $10,000 for their charity of choice. We'll talk a little bit about who those winners are in a little bit. Let me talk about
really quick about that Ford Focus. You know, Ford, BMW, and Toyota, all three announced at CES the deals where they'll have the this dashboard panel that incorporates Pandora, QNX technology, 3G, 4G technology in these cars. So the car technology was hot.
I know, it's pretty amazing. But, they're all playing catch-up to the Ford Sync, which is truly the amazing technology. I have a Toyota. And can I tell you what my next car is? It's a Ford Focus electric. In fact, I'm so excited. I got to sit in the Ford Focus. The electric, I know it's going to be a while before it's out. I think it's next year. The Focus, though, is an incredible car. They're going to have gas. They're going to have hybrid. They're going to have plug-in hybrid. They're going to have diesel, and they're going to have electric. Same essential body worldwide. And I was talking to Alan Mulally, the CEO of Ford. Watch that, by the way. We have it on the TWiT Specials stream. And he said, and I thought this was very cool, they're building a single assembly line that can do all 5 versions of the Focus. This solves the conundrum, of building electric cars, because the car companies say, well, we got to wait till demand. There's no demand till the cars are out there and people have the charging ports. They solved it. They can now build them as demand increases. They build as many as necessary.
This is like the automotive equivalent of dollar cost averaging.
Yeah.
Just buy everything.
Or just-in-time production. I'm very excited. Gina taught me a song. Actually, she used to sing it to Abby when she was a year or two old. Remember that, Gina?
I'm a little hunk of tin. Nobody knows where I've been. Right?
I got 4 wheels and a running board.
I'm a Ford.
Honk, honk, rattle, crash, beep, beep.
Exactly.
I don't know if Alan really would appreciate that song, but it's not exactly an advertising jingle, but I'll tell you, I have been a Ford family ever since I got that Mustang a couple of years ago. I love it. I can't wait. My next car is a Ford Focus. Lithium-ion batteries, higher capacity than the Ford hybrid electric and plug-in hybrid batteries. You plug it into an electric outlet, your standard 120 volt, but if you've got the 240, and they're going to have Best Buy, by the way, the Geek Squads will come and install this. They actually did a deal with Best Buy to make it very simple to get that electricity in there. Get this, 3-hour charging. 3-hour charging. They're not talking about range yet, but the range will be absolutely comparable with everybody else, which it makes me, I'm probably 40 miles, which is, I can't wait. And the thing is, I can go to San Francisco. I wouldn't be able to get back unless there's civic urban chargers everywhere. And I think that's the next big thing is you're going to see GE had some beautiful chargers that they were demonstrating that cities are putting in everywhere. I think this car is going to power an electric revolution in this country. I'm very excited about it. And, of course, yes, the Ford Sync with My Ford Touch is in there. Not only can you control your music, make hands-free calls, of course, the 911 alerts and all of that, but you also can do battery management via voice as you're driving. They have an iPhone and Android app that you can check your battery. You can see how it's charging. You can turn on charging later when it's cheaper. This is so sophisticated. The Sync now understands, Alan told me, more than 10,000 commands.
Wow.
On the Ford Sync. You stay connected while keeping your eyes on the road, your hands on the wheel. We thank Ford for supporting our coverage of CES, and I couldn't be more excited about where Ford is going with their electric vehicles. That was, to me, a big announcement at CES that they could have made. There was a logical place to make. I mean, there's a reason why they did it at CES. Maybe it's just to telegraph that, hey, we understand this is consumer electronics as much as it's a vehicle, but I don't think CES is obsolete, and I would hate to see it go away because I'll tell you what, we have a lot of fun covering.
I mean, I had a blast. I don't want to see it go away. For the record, I want to see it expand, if anything, and give me different tracks because I was left with the sense that I missed so much.
Yeah, and that's as a first timer, you have to get over that. There's no way. It's like going to a big city or to Disneyland. You can't see it all. You just can't.
And I guess for you guys, because what I've heard from all the old timers, sorry for the term, but from what I've heard from all the people who've been there several times.
Look at me and Dwight. Old timers. We're young, we're youthful, we got spunk and vim.
All the seasoned veterans said to me that there were certain things that year after year would show up and they never came out, and so you got tired of seeing them all the time. And so
that's always a case too.
Yeah, we see it. Me being a newbie, I don't know. I'm just like,
you know what I did at CES this year, and I keep forgetting to mention this. I actually played Duke Nukem Forever.
What?
Oh.
No. I played it.
No.
I played it. It's real.
No.
Yes.
No.
They had it in the Dell suite at the Palms. They had a gaming area with Alienware, and they sat me down with one of their high-end machines, and I got to play Duke Nukem Forever, and it was awesome.
Yeah, cool. No, I'll bet you $100 it definitely comes out this year, mainly because you know my brother was on the team that got canned.
Oh, you know
3D
about this, yeah.
Yeah, well, and now that it got all the way canned, Gearbox bought all the rights to it, and Gearbox is not married to it as a concept the way 3D Realms was. They're like, all right, we bought it for this many dollars, we want it out by this date, and we can make a profit on it, so it'll definitely happen.
I am stunned. I thought this thing would never. I mean, I thought it was history.
Yeah. Well, there was a fantastic article in Wired talking about why it failed, and the reason it failed is because they had unlimited resources.
It was too much,
and they could keep going back and trying to make everything right.
Kept making it better.
Yeah.
Sometimes the perfect is the enemy of the good.
That's something that Feynman said about computers.
The good is the enemy of the great. Is that how it goes?
I think the perfect is the enemy of the good, right?
Yes. Yeah. The perfect is the enemy of the good.
You try to be perfect, you'll never get it out.
Right.
I guess both are true. You know, I wanted to add something and just throw this out to the floor. I got a chance to catch up with Tim Westergren. You know, he's the founder of Pandora. He was thrilled, of course, with all these auto announcements. We
love Tim. And yes, Pandora is on sync. Yep.
And I said to him, this kills radio effectively. And I'm a radio person, old radio person, a seasoned radio person like you, Leo. And he said, no, it doesn't. It enhances radio. I lost that argument.
I don't know how that enhances radio.
I don't think so either.
I think if you can listen to Pandora, you can listen to 1,000 streaming internet stations. You know, and you know, by the way, we do talk radio, Gina, and of course, Pandora doesn't bite into talk radio. But Stitcher does. Stitcher allows you to stitch together podcasts like this very podcast in a row, or NPR News, or whatever you want to listen to, as long as you can download it and you listen to or stream it and you listen to it on Stitcher. That kills talk radio. I think this kills broadcast radio.
Here's what I think with Pandora. I think it absolutely enhances radio from a consumer standpoint. You get a better radio experience from a consumer standpoint, but it does kill radio as far as a collective consciousness experience. There are certain songs.
You can make an argument that the iPod's done that also.
Well,
right?
yes, but like specifically, there are certain songs that we all know. Even if we all hate that song, we all know it because the radio played it to death.
Never gonna give you up.
And it doesn't, and that's not going to happen anymore.
Never gonna let you down.
With Pandora.
Never gonna.
I want to hear you sing the rest of the song. Make a mashup.
It's Rickrolling.
I think I just Rickrolled Twit.
You did.
But that's exactly the song you don't want to hear. That and
Tainted Love. Yeah.
Tainted Love.
So I don't think radio is going to go away, mainly because, for one reason, in most cases, even if the programming is done, you know, collectively, nationally by a corporation, it's really pretty local. And Pandora is not local. People listen to it. They have an affinity with their local radio station. And it's similar to what I think newspapers are trying to do, where they're trying to intensely localize everything because that's the strength. And I think that broadcast radio will continue, maybe not as a collective place to here's the songs we're all listening to, but I think it'll be kind of a community thing.
You know, I grew up in the days of what they called full service radio. Was hyper local. You'd talk about the dog show, you'd have classified ads on, and I love that kind of old school radio,
which coming back,
which has died out. Yeah, but you know what's interesting, Dwight, is that the slices aren't just geographic. There's also, for instance, I think we're hyper local in that sense for tech enthusiasts, right?
Certainly for taste. Right. Yes, absolutely.
So in a way, we are doing, even though Twit is global in the most extreme sense, you know, more than a third of our audience is international, we are local in the sense that we're, you know, a tight little group of people with a very specific interests, which we hyper serve. That's what local radio is. It turns out, you know, for news, you might care more about what's going on down the street. But when it comes to computers or something else, you know, whatever it is, Pez dispensers, local for you. What do you laugh? Gina, are you a Pez dispenser collector?
No, those guys are geeks. I mean, they're worse than the radio people.
Yeah, those geeks.
Why, God, because
Leo, that term is niche. We serve a niche.
It is like niche.
What does it say
but local is just a niche. It's a particular kind of niche that applies to a certain kind of thing. But I think there are many niches, and not just the local niche. And that's the point I'm making. And Pandora and other internet services can serve non-local niches. You're right, they can't be local, but there's plenty of other niches like our niche.
True. And, you know, all these new media forms are really interesting. You know, just talking about CES coverage, it's still going on. You know, people are still posting stuff from CES because there was so much to see.
It's true. It just never dies.
Yeah, go to Google and you can search CES 2011 and maybe TechWeb Pandora. You could see that Pandora guy's weak argument that he's not killing radio.
He just doesn't want you to think he is.
Power.
Yeah. The last thing Tim Westergren wants is the radio guys to come after him. Right. He's holding on until. Hey, speaking of some daily news, the daily iPad app is now going to be delayed. We had heard rumors. I thought this was a great rumor, that Rupert Murdoch would join Steve Jobs on the stage at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art next week to announce their iPad Daily. Somebody said, boy, how appropriate to introduce, I think it was Jeff Jarvis said, how appropriate to introduce the Daily in a museum.
Jeff is funny.
Jeff was right on that
and
one.
Also bringing back the steam engine.
Yeah. According to sources familiar with the company's plans, Peter Kafka, writing in All Things D, says the Daily will be pushed back to give Apple time to tweak its subscription service for publications. They don't really have a subscription service right now, so tweak is more. They need to.
Well, also the Jobs or Apple supposedly is telling publishers that they're not going to allow them to offer free subscriptions to the iPad app to their print subscribers, which is what newspaper publishers really want. They want to be able to bundle it, and they're not going to let them do that.
I don't know that I hate. I mean, in the short term, I hate that because, of course, I want anything free. But I think it may be very forward-thinking in that they're saying what people want is the experience of reading the article. What's so great about the fact that they happen to be printed on dead trees?
Right.
And they're trying to cut out that they're trying to preserve the value of the content as what you really want. And you don't get the content for free because you're buying the dead paper. You just buy the content. Is that
what Apple wants is not so much that. They're after their 30%. If people don't spend for the iPad app and they get it free, Apple doesn't get its cut. So it's a financial argument for them.
Well,
this is a great argument he makes. Apple is all about its cuts and all about its money. You talk to any developer and they'll tell you they're harsh.
They want that 30%.
They're the new Microsoft. Oddly.
Yeah, man. That's where they become the empire.
And Microsoft's the new IBM. And
IBM is the new Amiga or whoever.
IBM's the new Atlas Tire, I think.
Exactly.
the new Buggy Whips Incorporated. That's what goes around. Actually, I have a book from a guy named Tim Wu called The Master Switch that talks about these cycles, and I don't want to misquote him, so I'm not going to, because I'm just starting it. But it looks like a really interesting analysis of this. In fact, Larry Lessig on the back is quoting saying this is the best book of a generation. You got to read this book. So I'll report back next week.
But Larry Lessig will put a quote on anybody's book.
Oh, come on. Come on.
Look at any book in the bookstore. There's a Larry Lessig quote on the bottom.
Steve Martin sent me a quote. He says, "I know you don't have a. I don't know.
Write me a blurb."
Steve Martin sent me a blurb. He said, "I know you don't have a book yet, but when you write a book, you can put this on the back. I love Leo's new book. It took me a week to figure out how to open it." Steve Martin.
There was one artist, and I forget, I'm sure the chat room will instantly know, but there was some artist who would make a habit of telling any up-and-comer, just make up whatever quote you want from me about this product or service. And there were and a lot of people took it to heart. They would write down whatever it was, but then there were some people who would actually give that quote verbatim on the back of their book, saying, please make up whatever quote you want for this product or service.
I like that. Kind of outed him a little bit, but I like it. That's good. All right, we have lots more to talk about. I guess we should, I said I was going to talk about it, so we should talk about the Verizon iPhone. How many Verizon customers on the panel today? Okay.
I will soon be, as soon as I can get off AT&T.
Oh, there's one.
Oh, this is good because I actually want to have it out on this.
There's one defector. Are you going to, Mr. Silverman, are you going to defect?
I use several times a day the talking on the phone and using the data.
I use the talking on the phone. How is the talking on the phone?
like, okay, I'll send you that email, and then forwarding it to them, or giving directions to somebody. I have to be able to do that, and with the Verizon iPhone, I won't be able to. I also am a little nervous about the fact
I see what you're saying. You want data and voice together, and you can't do that. You're the first person I've met, because that is one of the things a CDMA network will not do that AT&T's GSM network will do.
I use it all the time.
So you're the first one I've met who said that's an issue. I mean, I've heard it, in a theoretical way. Okay, that's good to know.
I'm going to say that I'm not switching, and I think everyone will be shocked at how few other people will switch as well. I'm not switching, and nobody else is either. That's my claim.
We'll see. We will see. Credit Suisse predicts that 23% of AT&T iPhone users will defect.
Wow.
So, well, that's a big-ass number.
I mean, I don't know if we want to wait till after
That's a big other number.
I don't know if we want to wait to talk about it, because I actually have issue with that, too. There's a difference between what everyone says they're going to do and what they're going to do. I believe 23% say they're going to switch, or say they really hate the current situation.
But they won't.
They won't, man.
I think when it comes down to
they say they want to, but, they probably haven't looked at their contract.
Right.
If you're in a family plan, it's kind of difficult to switch, because you end up losing that connection between your family for free voice calls. I think it's a lot harder to jump away. I think over time, you may see a lot of defections, but you're not going to see a lot of defections with this phone. I think a lot of people will also wait for iPhone 5.
Well, that's the question I've been asking my radio listeners is, okay, you're on Verizon. You've been waiting for a year. You've heard the rumors for a year. You've been dying for an iPhone. Yay! Or in the words of John Oliver of The Daily Show, F yeah!
I saw that.
Wasn't that a funny bit?
You could tell he's never been to a technology announcement.
Well, what's funny is Andy Anako, MacBreak Weekly, was at this event, and he said it was very strange. We're all sitting there quietly waiting for Verizon to come on stage, and somebody all of a sudden jumps up and goes, F yeah! And everybody looks over, and it's John Oliver with the cameras, and obviously they're pre-taping this reaction.
That's hilarious.
Right. And then he says, and then he does it again. Obviously, they wanted a second angle. As anybody who's worked in TV knows, this was all fake. And then, of course, they cut it appropriately, because they put the F yeah right after the announcement.
That's awesome.
I know. I love the Daily. It's the greatest TV show in the world. And anyway,
it totally ruined the ambiance of the announcement. Verizon tried to have this little jazz music going on. The guys flash music. It was great that they just destroyed the ambiance. I was like,
that's John Oliver right there. Although I think Andy said he felt you could see afterwards, Andy was that Oliver was a little chagrined that he had to do it and then had to do it again. It was embarrassing.
It's hard in that kind of situation to muster up the courage to.
It's great. It's a little embarrassing. In any event, my point is that there are a lot of Verizon owners who have, for a year been dying for this to happen. And maybe they will jump, maybe they will jump. But this is what I told my radio audience. Ask yourself how you're going to feel in June when an iPhone 5 is announced that supports, let's say, the Verizon 4G network. Are you going to say, F yeah! Or,
it's going to be F me!
Oh, man! I mean, that's going to hurt. And you got another year and a half on your contract, and you're going to have to spend $500 if you want to upgrade.
People don't realize all the little ways that we have carrots on sticks that trap us into our current situation with AT&T. The first of which is, imagine everyone you know who has an iPhone right now. Right now, every time you call them, whether it's morning, noon, or night, you are calling absolutely free. You're spending no minutes, nonstop. You're able to access your data while you're on the phone with them. And you are obviously you have to pay a termination fee to get out of the contract. Then you have to pay even more hundreds of dollars to buy the exact same phone that you just bought on a different network, and then that phone is not going to have data while you talk on it. And here's the part that I think people don't realize. Expect to see a lot of these stories. Right now, we have sort of an Obama situation with Verizon, where we all hate AT&T, and we project this imaginary face onto Verizon. It's going to be this magical wonderland where we never drop calls, and we're going to find out that Verizon is human just like the rest of us. And those are the stories that we're going to be hearing about 2 months from now.
Wait a minute. Are you saying there's no hope?
I'm saying, and there'll be no change. That's what I'm
saying. There's
no
change?
Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Right? Also, Leo, I don't think iPhone 5 is going to be an LTE phone.
You don't?
Wow.
No.
No, I don't either.
Apple doesn't jump that fast. Remember what happened with
Took a long time to go to 3G.
Right, it took a long time to go. I think they'll wait. They want to do two things. They probably want to wait till AT&T's network is a little built out, which starts the middle of this year, and they're going to want to wait until LTE is mature before they do that, and then they'll do a single chip that will be able to handle both networks, and they'll be off and running.
So, in other words, should Verizon customers not worry about iPhone 5 and just take the leap?
I think they could go to iPhone 5. I think it'll be a different enough phone that it'll be attractive if they want to do it.
There will be other stuff that they'll want.
But also keep in mind that right now Verizon is tiering the data pricing for LTE, and they don't have an unlimited data plan for LTE. They do have an unlimited data plan for 3G. So if you want to make that jump, it's going to be a lot more expensive, I think.
In fact, you actually brought up one other thing as well. Keep in mind also, most of the people I know who have an iPhone are still grandfathered in to their unlimited AT&T contract. And they all know that once the load gets lightened on the AT&T network, they're going to get a lot more service out of it, and they'll be glad to have that unlimited. And granted, they are offering unlimited over at Verizon, but it's a big change, and it's a big leap, and it's a big unknown with how happy you're going to be.
Do we know? Because I think Verizon declined to say what their data plans are going to be.
Oh, really?
They aren't saying yet what the data plans are going to be for the iPhone, but chances are they'll be the same as the other smartphones.
Yeah,
they have to compete with it.
And one story that I think it's going to be the sleeper story, I think, out of this whole announcement is we all blame AT&T for these terrible dropped calls. But what if the fault is Apple's?
I totally believe that. I believe that for years. I honestly think.
I do too.
Because I've been with AT&T since 1997, and I never once ever noticed dropped calls.
Now, here's the counter argument. Apple iPhones work fine overseas.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yes,
So it's AT&T.
Oh, shoot. No, wait, that screws up my point. I wasn't paying attention.
Exactly.
Damn.
You know what, Brian, that's exactly how you respond to something like that. Exactly. My point exactly, sir. And then just move on quickly.
Learn it from the experts.
Just move on
screwing
quickly.
this all up.
Say, yes, that's what I said.
That proves my point. So anyway.
And 99% of the people listening will go, that Schwood is so smart.
Not anymore.
He is so smart.
It's this intellectual honesty I got to get rid of it if I'm going to be successful.
Never admit it, my friend.
If you talk to AT&T executives and you kind of get them in like a quiet room, they will try to put the blame for the iPhone's dropped call issue on. They blame Apple.
Oh, but let me guess.
But they never want to say that on the record.
Who does Steve Jobs in private blame?
I'm sure he blames AT&T. I'll tell you, I worked in the AT&T building, and I got a big group of us iPhone users. We went up the elevator and said, what's the problem here? Why doesn't our phone work in the damn
Did you
AT&T
carry torches
building?
and pitchforks?
Pretty much. And the guy literally said, go to the iPhone store and ask them.
Oh.
So we did.
Right,
we went with our
that's the
pitchforks
answer
and
they
torches
give you.
to the iPhone store, and they said, go back to AT&T and ask them, which is the old Microsoft, software thing where they were always pointing fingers.
It's hard words, yeah.
But it'll be really interesting. Maybe not likely that it is an AT&T or an Apple
I don't
problem.
think this will give us the
doubt
answer,
it.
though.
Can we open Can we open a betting pool here? I guess what? AT&T has 92.7 or something, 93 million subscribers. Verizon has what? 97 million subscribers.
And by the way, that number flip-flopped because of the iPhone. It used to be Verizon on top, AT&T second.
So if we're going to create an office pool here, total number of defections before the iPhone 5 is released, I guess over the next 6 months or so, what's your number, Leo?
Do I get to go first?
Yeah.
10.
10 million?
10 million.
That's high.
That's in the next 4 months. That's a lot, isn't it?
That's defections from AT&T to.
Does it have to be defections or sales? I'm saying 10 million sales.
Oh no, there definitely will be 10 million sales. I'm going to say that
we won't know the defection number though.
I'm sure there'll be some survey that vets
survey
it out.
says.
I'm going to say that maybe 3 million will defect.
Ooh, tiny.
3 to 5 million from AT&T.
See, I'm only saying 10%. You're saying 3 million is like nothing. That's 3%.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying 10 to 15 million for sure.
Leaving AT&T and signing up with Verizon?
I'm saying they're willing to just, eat that termination.
They're going to take a flyer.
I think
dropped calls drive us nuts.
I think you overestimate the affluence of most iPhone users.
Well, that's a good point.
I think it's a significant, $300 quit fee is very big.
The number is 5%. 5% of AT&T users will jump, but it won't be immediately. It'll be over this year, length of this year.
Agreed.
5%.
Over the year. Over the
year. Chat room. Chat room is saying, how many people, what is the percentage, chat room? Let's give you a chance to vote.
A lot of people
DJ
say 5
Flux
to
says
7.
4 million. Big Jim, 5 to 7 million. 2 million, that's the low number from Captain Kipper.
15%.
That's pretty. 10 to
said.
20%. That's a lot.
Anything in double digits is insane. They're high on the crack.
Well, people are miserable.
That's the thing. You can't underestimate the misery of an AT&T iPhone
I'll
user.
tell you what.
Well, except that's in certain locations. You know, if you're out in smaller towns that have 3G,
Works fine, I know.
it works fine. It's in the large cities. It's in San Francisco and New York and Los Angeles. In Houston, it works pretty good. You know, when we have problems is during drive time when people are on the phone driving home. This is a commuter town. And that's when suddenly you get dropped calls. During the middle of the day, it's not a real problem here.
Now, picture this.
You know who makes the most money in all this? Who? Gazelle.com. Everybody. They actually told me, because they were at it at CES. They said, oh, we love it when there's a new iPhone. We loves it, and especially if it's a new iPhone on a separate carrier. Ooh, we loves it. Hey, let's take a break. We've got a great panel. They're all Southerners from Austin, Texas. Mr. Brian Brushwood.
Your Honor.
Now, Brian, you got a new site.
Yeah.
Tell the people about this new site.
This is a crazy idea. This is a performance art piece that's going to take me decades to do, and in the end, I will never even get to see the results. And I can't decide if it's morbid, if it's creepy, if it's distasteful or funny or weird. But
it's existential, at least.
Yeah, yeah. But basically, my birthday is tomorrow, January 17th.
Okay.
And starting tomorrow, I'm going to have to log in to afterlife.me. That's after LYFE.me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to give it my login and name to remind it that I am alive. Because this website will have all of my social media credentials. It'll have all my Twitter passwords, all my Facebook passwords.
Wait a minute. So this is a dead man switch for the internet?
It's a dead man switch for Brian Brushwood. And for the rest of my life, I will check in.
You have to do this every day?
Every year on my birthday.
Oh, on your birthday.
And
good. I was going to say, if you had to do it every year,
no,
you're in
that
trouble.
would be crazy. Yeah.
Okay. So once a year on your birthday.
I have to check in, let it know.
Can I do this too?
Yeah, well, and that's what, you know what's funny is I thought I would do it just for me, but so many people have already expressed an interest. So here's what happens.
You got an internet startup. You shouldn't be doing this on the radio for free. You got to go down the Sand Hill Road, baby. But you got to sell this. You got to sell this, baby.
Dude, I'm a magician, man. I'm a showman. I'm P.T. Barnum in the 21st century. So here's what happens.
Let me tell people who are listening, because I know the video people know what we're talking about, but the people at home listening, afterlife.me is the website.
And the idea is once it assumes I've died, once I fail to check in and it thinks I've kicked the bucket, it will take all of my tweets and all of my posts, all my social updates, and it will create a digital simulacrum of a living Brian.
No, you read Demon. This is straight out of Demon. I know what you're doing.
No, I actually haven't read it, but it will continue. The basic thing is at the very least, it'll retweet the last year of my life over and over and over again. Every tax time, you'll hear me gripe about taxes.
Oh, I'm telling you.
You'll get Christmas tweets.
I'm telling you. All you have to do is create a site and have the tagline, "The Dead Man Switch for the Internet," because that's the one line, that's the elevator pitch.
Right.
And if you did that right now and you charge people $1 a year to renew, right? Every year they have to give you $1 for their birthday.
Okay. And then
you will have at the very least $400 or $500 a year, all yours.
Agreed.
This is clever.
Pure profit.
Well, the idea also is, here's what blows me away, because I thought it's just a crazy idea because I didn't know if it was morbid or not, but the questions people are coming up with are amazing. Like, can you pre-write tweets to be released to say the things you could never say when you were alive?
Like Mark Twain.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Exactly, right? And then other people said, can you eventually analyze your tweet cloud and come up with new content where it finds
That's what you
articles.
Really need. I think we need to get an AI.
The type of articles that you would have retweeted when you were alive.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then that opens up the other idea. What if I become more popular in death as a Twitter account than I ever was when I was alive?
Well, that's what happened to me.
You're still alive?
No, everybody knows I've been dead for 4 years. That's exactly what happened to me. I died in the second year of TWiT, and they have video clips they've just been cobbling together.
But they keep re-releasing your albums, Leo.
Absolutely. It goes forever. It's
Can
beautiful.
I tell you where this actually came from?
This is so getting hacked. Brushwood is so getting hacked. Someone will hack this.
People say that, but it's like, if what you want is to access someone's social media site, why don't you just hack their social media site directly?
Right.
But it's all in one place.
Can I ask a question? If you do die,
Yes.
Does this site suddenly go red or something? I mean, he's like a big, he's dead, he's dead. I mean, is there some alert?
You would have to probably pre-write your tweet saying, hey, as you probably heard, I've croaked. We hope you enjoy reruns for the rest of eternity.
Can I tell you something really morbid?
Yes, please.
I'm going to Antarctica. I'm going to go on a South America cruise. I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks, everybody. Sorry about that, but I have to take a vacation
Probably want to
someday.
open this account before you go.
Yeah, I might. Well, I was thinking, I'm going to Antarctica. I'm thinking, what if I croak? So I'm going to actually record a video that says, if you're watching this, I am dead. And then I was going to just, give people my instructions.
That's awesome. You totally should do that.
Brian, wash your freaking hair. No, I don't know what it'll be, but I was thinking. Actually, I don't know. I have a disaster mentality, and where I will kind of think about. I don't dwell on it. I don't get obsessive, but I think about, like, what if the worst happens? And I always, when I go on a plane flight, I think, I'm going to say goodbye to my kids as if I may never see them again. And the tongue in the ear, they really are starting to hate that. But
the wet willies aren't going over so well.
But I really was, and I'm probably in the shower when I do this. I don't know why this stuff comes to me in the shower, and I'm thinking, now what would I say? And I saw myself on the ice floes, getting colder and colder, with my camera in my hand, recording my last thoughts. And I'd like you, Brian, to host TWiT for me from now. And is that morbid?
No, I think
it's exactly what this is.
Well, this is a new world that we live in, where the problems the abilities we have to extend our personalities, and just as we call the chat room your prosthetic brain, you inject your personality into your tweets, your updates, and so on. And here's the whole idea. Kind of flashbacks 2 years ago. I was a friend of mine, my best friend from college, committed suicide. Right.
Oh, dear.
But the way I heard about it was from a dubious source. And
you didn't believe it?
Well, because it was this flaky kid from high school, and I didn't know if he was messing with me or not. So I opened up IM, and there's my buddy's name, and I went to type, and I was like, "What the hell do you type?"
Oh, are you there?
Yeah, you're like, "Hey, are you dead by any chance?"
I'm glad you can laugh about it now. Well, that's actually pretty heavy.
And what's funny is I have spent the last 2 years it's only been in the last few months that I've gotten less angry about it, because suicide's a weird thing.
It's an angry act.
And you want to blame them, and it's not fair.
Please.
How
kids,
great!
Don't commit suicide.
No, yeah.
There's my little PSA.
Call a suicide line.
That's my call a suicide hotline. Don't kill yourself, because it's not nice. Everybody, you think it's going to be good. They're going to be at the funeral. They're going to be saying good things about you. First of all, you're not going to know because you're dead. And second of all, they're mad at you because it's like it's like a damaging thing to do. It's not a good thing to do.
And I honestly think I would have forgiven him a lot earlier if he could have made me laugh or think from beyond the grave with some random thing he had tweeted in the past.
Right.
Like that's the idea with all of this. But if you want to check it out,
I think that's really cool. Afterlyfe.me. I want to do it, and I think you should really do a startup. I'm telling you.
All right. Well, maybe I'll take this
seriously. I have an interface idea for you. You know how when you go to the doctor and there's that thing like doing beep 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 for your heart.
Oh, you could have like
you could have that. Yeah, just have it go flatline when the person dies.
Is Brian Brushwood still alive.com? It just says yup until it says nope.
Well, there's that, the guy who did Fish.
Abe Vigoda.
Is Abe Vigoda dead, right? They're still, he's not, by the way. He's still alive. I saw a tweet this morning that kind of reminded me of that. It was, I guess there was some bogus information that Nelson Mandela had passed away. And somebody from South Africa tweeted, the Twitter's like the serial killer of the internet. Nelson Mandela, I just got off the phone with him. He's not dead. And I thought that's, Twitter declares people dead prematurely all the time.
Oh, yeah. Justin Bieber has to deal with that repeatedly. There's waves of Justin Bieber RIPs out there.
Yeah. Newspapers, write well in advance obituaries for people who are likely to die, high-risk people.
Anybody here ever get that call?
Which one?
From the newspaper.
Saying that they're dead?
This happened in the Wall Street Journal. It was a very strange thing, and I don't know why, but they called me and they asked me a lot of questions. They said, well, we're thinking of doing an article about you. This was a couple of years ago, and then nothing. I think they were writing my obituary.
Well, they pre-write all that stuff, right?
That's what Gina was saying.
Dwight knows the inside sauce.
Dwight,
he probably has folders full of pre-written obituaries.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've had to do that. It's kind of creepy to have to do.
Yeah.
It is. It is kind of creepy to have to do.
You've done it too, Gina?
Yeah, I used to have to do that at ABC News. We do little pieces of people who we expected to die soon, Bob Hope, Frank Sinatra, whatever. And we would just create these things and have them ready to run. But what happens is sometimes they accidentally run.
Oh.
And then you've got to say, no.
Yes,
this
that
guy's,
happens.
He's really alive.
Yes, Walter, I'm standing outside of the house of the Carrot Top, who was just recently passed away.
There's no obit on Carrot Top.
No, they probably didn't record that ahead of time.
No, but I'm
I
gonna
think they've
write
given
one
up
today.
updating the Keith Richards.
Keith Richards, yeah, you know, he says that in his book, which is a great book. In fact, let me do an Audible commercial because I want to plug his book. He says that in his book. He says, I was on everybody's death watch list for 10 years. I was Rolling Stone said the most likely to die, and I'm still not dead yet. It's a great book. Oh, my God. Have you read it? Life?
No, I haven't. I just finally got done with my latest Peter F. Hamilton, and now I got to start the last Void trilogy.
I've got the Void because of you. I bought the Dreaming Void. That's a trilogy.
Yeah. That takes place 1,000 years after the Commonwealth saga. But you're in the middle of Dark Tower land, right?
Yeah, but see, Dark Tower is how many books is it?
It's 7 books, but then there's all the satellite books. You really ought to read The Stand and Insomnia.
So what I'm doing, I'm spreading that out because I don't want to do if I went from beginning to end with Dark Tower, even without The Stand and Insomnia,
it would be a year and change.
It's like the rest of my life going to be that. I'd have to have a website.
You'd read the rest on Afterlife.
I have to say, if I haven't finished the Dark Tower, please come to my grave and read me Volume 7. I'm dying to know what happens. That wouldn't, or if with Audible you could just get me a little iPod and bury it with me and just press play.
Just press play. You'll get exactly 30 hours.
Yeah, just press play, and I know I'll have some entertainment for the ride. Do you do Audible, Gina? I haven't ever asked you this.
I do. I fly a lot overseas. I fly to China. I'm going to Barcelona for the Mobile World Congress. And so, I don't know if you remember this, I'm good at languages. So I'll download the Audible language series so that I'll be speaking.
Oh, that's a good use of it.
Oh, it's great. You're on the plane for 20 hours and, you get off and you can say a lot of things.
Dónde está Leo's grave?
Exactly.
Audible.com. Audible.com/twit2. Here's what you do. You go there right now. You sign up for the the platinum account. This is the 2 book a month. Oh, look, what's on the front page? Skippy dies.
Skippy dies.
That's a little creepy. This is creepy.
That's weird.
Well, maybe you didn't know it, but that's my nickname. So, no, it's
the name of my Chihuahua.
Oh, that's even creepier.
I saw Skippy dies. I was like,
Audible.com/twit2. You'll be signed up for the platinum account. 2 books a month, just about right. I'm telling you, if you do any commuting at all, you'll go through those 2 books. And your first month's free. Your first books are free. And you get to keep them. You cancel them any time, so you never have to pay a thing. Audible.com. So we've given you a bunch of recommendations. Keith Richards' Life, fantastic. Or pick a language training tape. There's lots of them on Audible.com.
Tons.
There's always the Stephen King stuff, including all 7 volumes of the Dark Tower saga, which I'm currently listening to.
Are they unabridged?
Oh, of course. I don't do abridged, dude. I do not. Yeah, which means they're long. In fact,
they are long.
It's funny because as he wrote them, the first one's like 7 or 8 hours, and then it gets longer and longer. I think now the current one is like 30 or 40 hours, and it's like he just had more to say. But they're all here. The Gunslinger is 7 hours, 24 minutes. The second one, Drawing of the Three, 12 hours. The third one, Wizard and Glass, I just finished 27 hours. Then he goes back to 18 hours. No, I just finished The Wasteland. That's right. I'm going to Dark Tower 5, 25 hours, 28 hours. There's a lot of stuff in here.
Wow.
You can go on and on and on.
Did you hear that Stephen King's writing new stories that take place between books 4 and 5?
Oh, stop it, Stephen.
Keep going. It's awesome.
No, it is. It's great. Look, we love books, but who has time to read these days? Audible gives you the time by making it possible to listen to great books read by great readers wherever you are, even if you can't hold a book. I listen at the gym. That's an hour a day every single day because I do like to work out every day.
Leo, you could listen to I Was on Audible.
Your book's on there. I forgot.
Yeah, and the guy sounds exactly like Steve Wozniak. I don't know how they found him, but he sounds more like Steve than Steve.
They did that with the Keith Richards book. They have a guy named Joe Hurley. And he's so funny. He sounds a little bit drunk. and then Mick came to my dressing room and I clocked him. Let's hear it. I got to hear it. So this is Patrick Lawler. Are you saying he sounds a little bit like Woz, huh?
He does.
By the way, another nice feature of Audible. You can play any cut.
And I remember sitting there and being so little and thinking, wow, what a great, great world he's living in.
This does sound
like
that's all I thought. Wow.
Welcome to I Was.
All right, you know what? Since we have the author on the show, I really should always do that and recommend the book written by one of our hosts. I Was, How I Invented the Personal Computer. I had fun along the way. Gina Smith wrote it with the help of Steve Wozniak. It's his unabridged autobiography. There's so much great stuff. Audible.
We were actually the first book on the Kindle.
Were you really?
What?
That's kind of cool.
The Kindle was just announcing when the book just came out, and they called us and said, "Do you want to be the first book?" And I said, "How much will you pay me?" And they said, "Nothing." So I said, "Okay." I have no business sense whatsoever.
Nothing. But I can give you some CNET stock. It's worth nothing.
Give me first.
Or is it?
Or is it?
Yeah.
Audible.com/twit2. Get your first 2 books free. You will love it. I promise you. We're all Audible listeners. It's kind of fun. Hey, Dwight, I didn't ask you. Are you an Audible listener?
I have listened to Audible. I have a 6-minute commute to work.
You have no
don't
need.
travel that much, so I don't have the time. But I have done Stephen King on Audible, and in fact, I think one of the Dark Tower books.
Yeah, that's the way to listen.
So,
actually, I used to commute to Tech TV, and I had 2 hours each way at least. Sometimes 3 if the traffic's bad. And now I don't have as much time in the car, and it kills me. I want to hear more.
Part of you miss that?
Totally. Well, I don't miss the commute. I hated the commute.
Yeah.
But I do miss listening to books for 3 hours a day.
For me, it'll
awesome.
be, I find myself going extra 20, 30 minutes on the elliptical when I work out. Yeah.
It's good for your health. People tell us they lose weight listening to our shows, too, mostly because they're vomiting.
Stop it. That's not.
Let's move on.
You want to talk about iOS 4.3 beta?
Yeah, so have you looked at it? Have you played with it?
I mean, I haven't gotten hands-on with it. All I knew, like, I got as far as reading hardware switch on iPad equals orientation lock, and I was dancing, and I didn't read anything else. Like, I do not understand why they ever took away that feature and decided we needed a mute switch on the iPad.
they wanted to make it consistent with the iPhone, but it's a stupid decision because you don't need it that much on the iPad. You got to have the orientation lock on the iPad. It's got to be quick. And it's got to be right there, and it was just a really dumb idea. And why they didn't give you a choice from the start, I don't know.
Well, and
but
plus,
I'm so
also,
happy about that.
I always thought they had an inventive and very adequate solution with the iPad, where just by holding down the volume down button, it would go volume down, mute. It would just, it would very quickly go down there.
Well, it was all we needed.
In fact, I actually never upgraded to the. I still don't have multitasking on my iPad. I have not upgraded because I didn't want to give up the orientation lock.
Oh, you should do it. It's not worth throwing that baby out with that bathwater.
Yeah,
it makes it a whole different machine. You should definitely do it.
Although
now I'm
going to do it.
I got to tell you, I think multitasking is misguided.
Yeah?
I end up going into forced close programs all the time because I can't close them anymore because of the multitasking, and they need to be closed.
And wasn't it Steve Jobs who went on the record as saying, if you ever have to open a task manager on the iPhone, we failed.
Well, you do.
And then sure enough, I find myself forced closing them all the time.
These devices are so constrained in RAM and processor power that I think it's fine to say you could do one thing at a time. I've never really liked Android's multitasking. I don't think the iOS multitasking is that good. I'm not convinced the multitasking is a good thing.
Well, especially because it's not
folders you need folders badly.
But it's not even real multitasking.
No.
It's not multitasking unless I can start downloading a YouTube app, go do something else, and then come back and then have the video be loaded.
You know what does beautiful multitasking?
Huh?
The Blackberry Playbook.
You know what? You really came out for this thing, man.
Blackberry Playbook. Now, I'm a little concerned because I'm hearing conflicting reports that you may not be able to do email on the Blackberry Playbook unless you have a BlackBerry and you can tether it to the BlackBerry. I don't know if that's true. We'll wait and see. RIM has said that the Playbook, which does beautiful multitasking, it's a variation of the QNX operating system, will come out in the first quarter with Wi-Fi. If you have the BlackBerry Bridge software and you have a BlackBerry smartphone connected to a BlackBerry Enterprise server, a little too much BlackBerry for my mind, you'll be able to get 3G wireless connectivity through your Bluetooth if you are all BlackBerry. Cool. And apparently that's how you're supposed to get email. There will be security 256-bit encryption during file transfer back and forth with the. I just thought that the way they did it was beautiful. Did you see it? Did you play with it?
I did not get hands-on with it, but I heard the enthusiasm from both you and I think Tom Merritt also got his
Gina,
hands on.
did you see the Playbook? Did you get to play with it?
I did see it, and we have a video of it online. If you search YouTube and CES 2011, you'll see it. We did a whole demo of it. It was remarkable.
So it's kind of reminded me a little bit of WebOS in the way it multitasked.
Yes, I mean, it's true multitasking. I mean, do you remember when Windows did this fake multitasking for a long time? I mean, and then suddenly we got true multitasking where things could happen in the background and multi-threading.
Boy, for a young woman, you're awfully old.
I'm extremely old.
Oh, that Leo, he knows how to talk to the ladies.
You remember when Windows didn't multitask? I don't even remember that, Gina. How old are you?
Yes, you. Windows 2.11 and Windows 3.1, neither of them did true multitasking.
Oh.
You could only get that in OS 2
Okay.
at the time. Because
Oh,
you needed
yeah. I forgot.
multi-threading.
You and John were big OS 2 fans. I forgot
I was
about
the
that.
Microsoft reporter for PC Week,
I
so I
forgot
was in
about
charge
that.
of
Yep.
all
Man,
that.
I remember when I got my first computer that was going to be all my own. I had to decide between OS 2 and 3.1.
You chose?
And?
Hey, what else is on the list there, Leo?
So let me move on. So the way you multitask, so you've got an app full screen on the Playbook. And by the way, unlike the Zoom where you couldn't play with it, you could only watch a video of how it was supposed to work. BlackBerry actually let me play with this. You, if you're in the Playbook and there's a full screen, you swipe your finger up, and the whatever's running on the screen minimizes to a cover flow style display, and it continues to run. It's the true multitasking you were talking about. So if it's a YouTube video, Brian, the video will continue to play. If it's a game, the game will continue to play. In this cover flow, they're all running at the same time. I mean, it's really good multitasking.
And this is why they're having a hard time getting the battery life to last.
Well, they didn't mention
decently,
battery
because
life.
everything runs in the background, and they're having a hard time making it competitive in terms of battery life.
What is the battery life? Do you know?
I haven't heard, but everything I've seen when you ask them why it isn't out yet, they keep talking about we're optimizing the battery life.
Yeah, in other words,
and as from what I understand, it's difficult for them.
Oh, well, it doesn't surprise me. It's not an easy thing to do, frankly, and maybe that's going to be the fly in the ointment. They
Or
do
the trade-off.
Yeah,
It's the trade-off.
But
right?
how much? But how much? I mean, look, if it had 4 hours, I could live with it. I mean, that's all the Samsung Galaxy Tab has. I mean, it doesn't have to have 10. But if it has 1, I'm not. It's not going to be. It's not going to work.
Well, it
Yeah,
probably
well, you
depends
know
on
the
how
old
much you're
rule,
doing,
whatever
and the more you
at
do.
battery life, they say divide it in half,
Right.
and that's what you actually
So,
get, right?
given
They
that
say
they've
4,
said
it means
they haven't
2.
said anything, that means it doesn't have any battery. It has half of that.
Half of 0.
Half
yeah.
of zeros. What is half of 0?
I don't know. It's a divide 0 error on your computer. So you can't divide by 0.
Now, both the Zoom and the BlackBerry Playbook will be running this new Tegra 2 processor from NVIDIA, which I think is part of the power of this. I mean, it's dual gigahertz processors, a gig of RAM. I mean, this is pretty impressive. So I don't know. I think you're right, Dwight, when you say tablets. I thought it was funny because I thought a lot of people came to CES looking for it to be a big tablet expo, and probably they were a little bit disappointed. You had to look in the nooks and crannies, but I think you're right. I think this is going to be the year of the tablet. There's no question.
It's also the I think it's the year of Android. And again, I am more of an Apple iOS fan, but I really think that what is happening with Android on tablets is being really underestimated. I mean, if you wanted to see a tablet, unless you saw the Blackberry Playbook and a handful of Windows slates, as they call them,
Right.
What you saw was Android, and what you saw in the back rooms was all Android. And I really think that by this time next year, I think we're all going to kind of be a little astounded at what's happened.
I want to talk a little bit about iPad 2 and the rumors and the counter rumors that are coming up in just a bit. Before we go, I want to take a little break. Thanks to Brian Brushwood for being here, to Mr. Dwight Silverman, who is an old radio guy, too. Let's not forget, he does a great show on Pacifica Radio.
Seasoned
I'm sorry.
Seasoned radio.
Yeah, we
out
had
of Pacifica.
Leo on a couple of weeks ago,
fun.
and it was a blast. It was a really
fun.
good
I'll
time.
do that show anytime. You got about 18 hosts on that show. It's the biggest group of people I've ever seen. What station is that on?
That's on KPFT. It's on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock Central Time. If you go to kpft.org, you can listen to it. It's called Technology Bites. It lasts for 2 hours. No commercials. We have a great time taking calls and making fun of people on the air.
It really is. It's a lot of fun. They're a bunch of geeks. Gina Smith is also here, my old buddy. Currently,
your old co-host.
my
from
old
the radio
co-host
days.
on the radio and on the TV too.
The TV
My
show,
first
you're-
co-author, my first co-host on TV, and
Somebody first. You did everything but take my virginity, Leah.
she's also the editor-in-chief. Am I turning red right now?
We
I believe
started
I
the
am.
show. We started the show with Leo saying
said
that,
she popped my
that
cherry.
Gina popped her cherry,
That's
and
right.
then she said,
So probably anybody at home listening is thinking, there's something going on. I don't know what it is.
We worked together an awfully long time.
We won't mention the time that we holed up in the hotel room for 3 days to write a book. What were you thinking? It was the only way, frankly, it was the only way we could finish this book. I have it here, the first book that I ever wrote. You had written a book before, right, Gina? It wasn't your first.
Yeah, I wrote a book about Tool Book, if anyone remembers that. No.
Tool Book?
But that book actually did better than... Yeah, Tool Book was Paul Allen's project.
Oh, jeez.
Remember the object-oriented programming?
Oh, I dimly remember that, yeah. Well, so I remember we were driving around L.A. in a Miata.
Oh, I remember that.
Remember that? It was so scary because this thing was smaller than... It was so low on the ground. I thought, oh, this would be fun, a convertible Miata. It was so low to the ground that we actually could look under the trucks as they drove by, and I thought, I'm going to get trapped under a truck. I really am. And you said...
We used to commute back and forth to MGM.
Right.
And we were trying to help MGM figure out what to do with interactive TV.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do remember that. And I also remember our boss at Ziff Davis saying, we don't have any plans to do anything with MGM, just stall them.
Yeah, I recall that too.
I think now it can be told, right? Maybe I should have saved that for my death tweet.
From the grave.
I mean, once you said hide the boots,
everything else is out now.
Able to, like,
it's all out.
It's all reports. I pretty much lost my job. Now.
So we no, you haven't.
Thanks for that.
So we pretty much we made a deal to do this book. You called immediately. Like, we're still in the Miata. She's calling her editor saying we're going to do a book. And then the deadline came, and we hadn't really written much of it. And so we said, okay, we gotta buckle down. We got a hotel room, and we sat up in that hotel room, and we wrote and we wrote and we wrote. And we finally got that book out there. There wasn't a lot of fun. It was or any actually. It was all writing. So let me take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit more. Lots to say still about my virginity.
How long does this show last, Leah?
45 hours. We're almost in the first 10%. Hang in there, sweetheart.
It's like a Stephen King book.
It is.
Gina's never done this before. Gina, if you'd like to go to the bathroom, if you'd like to go get a beer, if you'd like to go to bed for an hour or two, go right ahead.
To her camera. She's
take a nap. It's fine. Dvorak does that frequently during the shows. It's okay.
You got to roast to baste. Yeah. Now's a good time.
Yeah, he likes to cook during the show. This is his opportunity to get some cooking done. We'll be right back.
Is it a 3-hour show? Yeah.
No, we're almost done. We're going to wrap it up. We're going to wrap it up.
Don't forget to mention Byte.com, Leah.
I was going to plug you. Byte.com. She's the new editor-in-chief of Byte.com, which is back, baby. B-Y-T-E.
With Purnell, perhaps.
Yeah, with, I think, the revitalized Chaos Manor. But I do want to mention our friends at Citrix. Again, another Gina Smith connection, because you and me and Ed Iacobucci, who started Citrix, he's moved on, but Citrix really was the reason Ed knew so much about how to multitask on Windows, how to do remote access on Windows, is because he wrote Windows NT. He was on loan from IBM.
OS2. Well, he wrote OS2.
No, that was the story, though, is that, yes, he was on the OS2 team at IBM, and IBM lent engineers to Microsoft to work on the NT kernel, and he was one of them. And Microsoft lent engineering staff to OS2. And the story always was, of course, it's not fully true, but the story always was that pretty much IBM wrote NT and Microsoft wrote OS2. And Ed was the guy on the IBM OS2 team who, in fact, did a lot of the Windows kernel. And what that led to is the best remote access. It's still used everywhere, the Citrix Enterprise server for remote access in enterprise. And, of course, they also do great consumer products like this. GoToAssist.com. This is a remote access product that's used by support professionals all over the world to get their job done. In fact, I just read a study that said the people who use GoToAssist report about a 40% increase in productivity. It's like 2 extra days a week because they don't have to go down the hall. They don't have to get on the phone and walk you through it. They don't have to travel to help you with your problem. They just get on GoToAssist and fix it right there through the internet. In fact, you don't even have to have it installed ahead of time. If the support person has it, they just send you a link, you install it, and boom, they're fixing your computer. I do this with my mom. It's amazing. If you are in the support business, we all have our tools. This is the tool you got to have for remote access. GoToAssist.com/twit. You can try it free for 30 days. GoToAssist.com. Try it free for 30 days. You don't want to have those long phone calls. You don't want to have that feeling of, I wish I could help them, but I can't because I'm not right there. You want to fix the problem. You want Go to Assist Express.
Leo, just promise me that Go to Assist has some kind of Mother's Day special.
They really ought to. That's a great idea.
I don't even understand why they limited to business use. I mean, this is if you have a mom who calls you.
I agree. They encourage, this is really designed for pros, but I use it, absolutely. They have, most people get the monthly subscription because you can have an unlimited amount of support, but truthfully, they have a day pass, and I think that's for the that's
when you bust out.
We call that the good son.
Like, which
pass.
would you rather do? Spend the next hour on the phone, or spend whatever the day pass is?
Get the day pass.
Done.
It's the good son pass. In fact, what I would do is stack up all the requests, and on let's do it for Brian's birthday on the 17th of each month. Just say, I'll take all your requests here. Go to assist.com/twit. Give it a try. I think you'll absolutely love it. Do you do support for your mom?
She suddenly got like real conscientious. I think a lot of our parents grow up, just assuming that the kids are always there to help them or stuff. But then all of a sudden, mom was just all of a sudden really courteous about when she calls in favors. Now.
My mom does that too. She says, I want to ask you for tech support, but why is there more mojo on my We Rule farm? I got to tell you, as good as Go to Assist is, it doesn't allow you to remote access anybody's We Rule farm. You just, Gina, do you have an iPad, Gina?
I can't get David Berlin to buy me the dang thing.
All right.
And I'm not paying my own money for a product I'm going to be reviewing.
Oh, that's a good point. Wait a minute.
Journalist.
I always
Remember
pay
that?
money for the products I review. That's my new policy. Did you know that? I don't take loaners anymore.
I'll return it. I will return it. But if I'm going to review the new iPad,
Apple, wait, Gina, I should have warned you. If you appear on a TWiT show, you are now persona non grata to Apple for the rest of your life.
Thanks. Thanks for that, too. Now, no more job. No more Apple. What else can you do?
Let's talk about the iPad. I'm going to ruin your career by hook or by crook. The new iPad, according to Engadget, the new iPad will not be out till April, which makes perfect sense. That's when the iPad came out. And
I can't believe the iPad's not even a year old yet.
Isn't that amazing?
How old hat does it already seem?
Yeah.
It seems like it's been there forever.
Yeah. How do we ever not have them?
It's funny because the day before it came out, I kind of made a mental note to myself, this is the last day of my life I won't have an iPad.
Really?
Well, I kind of had that feeling that this was going to be a seminal event, a watershed in technology that from then on, and I was right, that the conversation would include iPad, that's a device, that's now
You were 100% right. I was totally skeptical, and I was 100% wrong.
Wow.
I mean, I own an iPad now. I mean, I bought one. I bought a
You know what's ironic?
Huh.
I never use it except to play games.
But that's fine with me.
That's all I use it for.
That's what it's for.
Oh, okay.
It's for fun. It's for entertainment. It's for media
Although
consumption.
I love Flipboard. Gina and I were talking about Flipboard. Isn't that a great?
Flipboard's
fantastic.
Flipboard's awesome.
I'm going to.
It's still media consumption, basically.
Right.
It's also social media.
Right.
One of my colleagues at the Chronicle is hell bent to use the iPad as a serious work device, and he was telling me, "Well, I can get my documents from here, but I can't get them all the way over there."
Hell bent is the word.
And I tell him, "Give up. That's not what it's for."
Yeah, you really have to. And I see people do this. Oh, well, I have the Bluetooth keyboard. I have the special case. I have the special stand. Get a freaking laptop for crying out loud.
Literally.
What are you trying to do here? So this is what Engadget says, and I think it makes a lot of sense. We were talking about the NVIDIA Tegra 2, which is based on the ARM processor. Boy, CES was an ARM show, wasn't an Intel show.
Sure
Dude, they had that mega 1-2 punch of Windows 8 is going to run on ARM, and oh, by the way, NVIDIA is now going to challenge Intel.
Right. I mean, basically, that's what happened. It was a shocker for those of us who've been living in a Wintel world for the last couple of decades. Apple is reportedly working on an A5 CPU, a successor to the CPU in the iPhone 4 and the iPad, that will be based on the A9. It'll be dual core, just as the Tegra 2 is. Now, the Tegra 2 has NVIDIA GeForce technology in there, a GPU. I would imagine Apple is also looking at upgrading the GPU in their chip. Here's what's interesting. Now, this is, again, just rumor. Apple doesn't say. But Engadget says the iPad 2 or the iPhone 5 will have a Qualcomm chipset in it that does CDMA, GSM, and UMTS. In other words,
that makes total sense.
Of course it will.
They can work
One
with
device
the Verizon
to rule them
people.
all.
Yep. Although I kind of thought maybe the Verizon iPhone would be that device, but no, it's pure CDMA. So I guess they just make a second model. Engadget says, and this confirms what you say, Dwight, no LTE in that chip.
No LTE. Yeah.
No LTE yet. Not until iPhone 6 or iPad 3.
It's too
if you're
difficult to
counting.
integrate.
Is that it, really? Because, gosh, that would sure be a selling point. But you know what? They'll do it next year, and then they'll sell more iPhone 6s that way.
Agreed. But it's difficult to integrate, and you'll see it coming from Apple. Sooner or later, it'll be tomorrow, and there it'll be.
The same leak on Engadget says that there is a Apple TV version 2, which will also have that dual-core A5, capable of 1080p video.
Which is, I guess, exceeds the ability of the human eye, according to the Engadget article. So I thought, well, what's the point? If it's exceeding the ability of the human eye, then why
but at
display
that
it?
density, at that distance from your eye.
That's what the Retina display was supposed to be, right? It's just we have finally made a display that exceeds the capacity of the human eye.
Yeah, they used to talk about 24-bit color that way.
Yeah, right.
True
I remember
color.
that. Yeah, true color. I remember that.
Truer than your eye can see. Yeah. It's like, well, then why?
Why's everybody got a diss on the eye all the time?
What's wrong with the eye, man?
We need better eyes. The eye.
What do you think about this this claim that there'll be an SD slot? That seems shocking to me. That seems like the most shocking thing on the phone.
I call bull hucky on that one.
Yeah, that just seems so un-Apple for this type of device. No. Then you get into file management and all kinds of weird stuff.
Never. That's right. How could you do it?
But according the article says,
okay, that just means I'm throwing the whole article out if they say that.
That's right. Our sources say with near certainty that the device will have a dedicated SD slot built in with no traditional USB slot. That just seems
well, except Apple finally broke down and added memory card slots to the iMac
to
the MacBook Pro line.
Even the Air, 13-inch Air has this SD card.
And so I think that what they may be going for is not necessarily storage, but so you could get your pictures from your camera into it easily.
They do have maybe they would treat it the same way they treat that dongle, because they do have that dongle, but there's no file system. It's just the program has to read it off the dongle.
You put it in and it grabs the images and puts it on the pad.
Maybe that's what's going on.
I could see that.
I can see that.
That sounds like a reasonable.
I still call bull hockey.
But what'll happen is that people are going to complain because they can't use it as storage. They won't be able to use it as a storage in the pure sense of the word. And so the jailbreakers will get to it and have fun with it, and that should be interesting.
What Dwight, have you heard the rumor about a buttonless iPad? Or a buttonless iPhone?
There are supposedly prototypes floating around the Apple campus where there's no button, and instead they're using multi-touch gestures to get back to the home screen.
That's what both Motorola and RIM kind of did, right? I mean, that's that.
Yeah, and Leo, I saw at CES, 3M was demonstrating a technology that could take 60 touches at a time.
Well, thank goodness.
Whoa.
Because
I only have
me and my 10 buddies.
What?
11 buddies. 12 buddies.
What the hell?
Well, for these large screens, so that if you're in a hospital environment or something, a lot of people will be able to say, "Oh, pull the X-ray over here, do this, do that." But they also announced the technology of these sensors for bendable displays.
That's kind of interesting.
It was really neat. Again, all these videos are on the website.
Did you see the Surface 2? Were you impressed by that? Hey,
I didn't see it.
Only $7,600.
Yeah.
There's nightclubs that can afford that.
All right, we got two more stories. I want to mention this was a big story. We talked a lot about it on This Week in Google. I don't know if we've talked it out, but Google has announced. Now, this is a little inside baseball, so let me explain. There is a new HTML standard, as you well know, HTML5. Everybody's getting behind it. Apple, Google, everybody, even Microsoft. And in HTML5, there is a tag, bracket, video bracket. And the idea is if we could only decide what standard to use for video, then it would be so easy for a website to embed video. They just use this bracket video. You wouldn't need a plugin. All the browsers would support it. There is no agreement right now on what that standard should be. The de facto standard for video is what you're watching right now, which is H.264. That's the video format we use. That's all our streaming partners. Even if it's wrapped in Flash, it's H.264. Google has announced we will not support H.264. That is not going to be our choice for the video tag in Chrome. They're hoping to throw their market weight behind something called WebM. They have bought WebM from On2 when they bought the company, and they're open sourcing it. They're licensing it to anybody can use it, royalty free. There's some debate over the quality of the codec. That's not really the issue. I guess the issue is an H.264 a de facto standard? Is WebM even out there? What are you going to re-encode all the YouTube videos? You're going to tell me I have to start encoding my stuff in WebM so that you can embed it? And here's I think the big interesting story that we talked about on This Week in Google. Doesn't this, in a way, give a win to Adobe Flash? Because if it's not built into the browser, everybody's going to have to download Flash to play it.
Well, and this was what I like most about Dwight's article, because Dwight wrote about this on blogs.cron.com. And specifically, Dwight points out that, okay, I get it. You're saying you're preferring open over close. Well, if that's the case, why don't you yank Flash support out of Chrome, right, Dwight?
Yes, and the thing is that Google could use H.264. Their argument is also one of cost. But
yeah, and they can afford it. I mean, there's a fixed cost from MPEG-LA, but they're saying others can't.
Right, and
by the way, I could be one of the others because, right now we don't have to pay a royalty to MPEG-LA, but there's no reason why we might not have to down the road.
In the future, right?
That's right.
Right. And but are you going to yank it just kind of because of what might happen? Ed Bott did a really nice piece looking at the cost.
It was an excellent piece.
Yes, on the cost of exactly what H.264 costs. And for Google, it's like, it's a rounding error. It doesn't. Right. It's not much at all. And so, I think it's a little bit disingenuous to them. They're trying to force the standard that they want to do. The only problem is that Chrome doesn't have that kind of share to force the standard. If this
but if you combine Chrome and Mozilla, by the way, the Mozilla group also does not support H.264 for the video tag. So
right, but Microsoft is.
Yeah.
And that's regardless of how much share they've lost, they're still the most used by plurality.
Are they?
Yes.
Oh yeah, but they're not half of the audience.
No. No, but they're still, they still are a big player, and Safari is also doing it, and not only that, but there's all these iOS devices that are out there, the iPad, the iPhone, and a lot of web developers have pointed at H.264. That's what they're using. That's what you use, Leo.
Yeah, I've thought about this. I've thought about this long and hard because my initial reaction is, screw you, Google. But in fact,
which is a good initial reaction for anything.
Yeah, it's pretty much works in every formal or informal occasion.
Of course.
But I finally decided that I think Google's on the side of the angels. They're trying to promote open standards. They make the point that H.264 is patented, is encumbered, and you cannot predict what MPEG-LA is going to do. Admittedly, it's not that expensive now. I don't pay a royalty now, but that could change. WebM isn't, some people say, well, there's going to be lawsuits about WebM because even though they claim to be open, there's also a counterclaim that there's some code in there that isn't. That is proprietary, and so there's going to be lawsuits. It's going to be a mess. And Google, I think, is saying, yeah, we know it's going to be a mess. But in the long run, it needs to be open. And I think you can always do plugins. This isn't about whether you can run Flash.
Right.
And Google supports Flash. It's not that, and Google's going to, it's not about plugins. It's about what does HTML5 support as a open, free codec. And I think WebM is the only choice that's appropriate for that.
But given the fact that you're opening up so much trouble, is it another case of the perfect is the enemy of the good?
Well, it might be, and you're right. And a lot of people accuse Google of profiteering on this, that this isn't really about open. I disagree. I don't think this is. I don't think Google's trying to make money out of this.
I would agree with you.
Or that it's going after Apple. Some people say that's an anti-Apple.
It's really disturbing to me. I mean, it's just another example of the Microsoftivization of Google. I mean, this is something Microsoft. I
thought Apple was the new Microsoft. Google can also be the new Microsoft.
Everybody wants to be the new Microsoft.
I changed my mind, but the point is, they just decide. Everybody's using the standard. We're just going to pull it and put in our own. There's no reason they couldn't have kept, the current H standard in there in addition to this other one. This reminds me so much of Microsoft and the whole Java.
If you care about your users and you want it to be as simple and as basic you can install plugins, but you know what? You shouldn't have to.
It has to be in the browser.
If you care about your users, you want it to be as simple. You want your browser to support everything that's thrown at it, and you want to do it natively.
Of
and
course.
if they're serious about not about supporting open, then get rid of Flash.
That's in fact what Kevin Marks said. He quoted Postel's law, which says be very open about what you support, be very narrow about what you do, but be very open about what you support. Support everything, in other words, because it's easier for users. I just think what Google's doing, and I kind of admire for them for this, is they're saying we're going to take some pain, we're going to bite the bullet, because in the long run, open is better. It will not be easy at first, but in the long now they're doing it for us. But you can always use a different browser. You can always put in Flash. You can always put in a plugin. But I think that they're doing the right thing here. I don't think it's an easy thing for them to do, and I think that there's a lot of good reasons to dislike it. But if we 5 years from now, if we look back and we say, hey, this is great. There's a standard video codec. There are others out there, but that's open. That's nobody has to ever pay for. That's supported by all browsers universally. I think it will have been worth it.
I'm going to defer to you because you obviously know more. You have a more vested interest in video
I have a
codecs
dog
than I
in this
do.
hunt, to quote Gina Smith.
But me as a consumer, I'm super annoyed that Chrome has always been the lightest, most svelte browser, and that's why I loved it and
Well,
started
in a way, this
using
makes it more so.
Well, but no, because now there's a lot of sites I'm going to have to install plugin on now, and I'm annoyed.
Well, this is I was mad at Apple for not supporting Flash. But I think that's been good for the internet, ultimately good for the internet ecosystem. Let's get rid of Flash. Now, admittedly, this short term, this does the opposite.
Right.
It helps Flash.
Well, Apple's arguments about Flash were technical, and Google's arguments about H.264 are religious, and I think that's wrong. I can see a technical argument.
Well, there is a technical argument.
A religious argument.
The technical argument is it's open.
That's the religious argument.
Philosophical. Don't say religious. That implies dogmatic. But
Well,
I would say philosophical.
I think killing it is dogmatic.
Yeah.
I think
make a point.
Is dogmatic.
Make a point.
Yeah.
Great.
The EdBot article was tremendous, and I would certainly recommend.
Ed's been very good on this MPEG LA stuff. He's really been good at debunking it. However, I think it's fairly complicated. I do encourage people to listen to This Week in Google this week. Kevin Marks, who was QuickTime, knows a lot about this stuff, talks from a very knowledgeable point of view about it. He's not happy about it, but I would say that's fairly safe to say. All right, we're going to wrap up with some numbers. You want to hear some numbers? The internet in 2010, this is from the website royal.pingdom.com. They collated numbers of internet usage from 2010. The number of emails sent on the internet, 107 trillion.
Now, at first I was annoyed because I didn't have a context for this because I don't know what they were in 2009, 2008. But then I realized that when I was a child, the number of emails was essentially zero. From 0 to 107. The world is transformed. It's so amazing.
That's almost 300 billion a day.
In my lifetime, all this is erupted.
25 on Prodigy.
Here's an important number. I think this may be a more important number. 1.88 billion email users worldwide. That's really amazing. That's the number of people who can send and receive email
instantly.
That's all?
Well, how many?
All? There's 6 billion people in the world.
Almost a third.
World.
Yeah, but remember...
hey, man, the rest of them are trying to find clean water.
Yeah, some of them don't have drinking water. New email users since last year, it's an increase of 480 million, almost 500 million. So it's going up fast. Now, this is the sad one. Almost 90% were spam. That's the sad one.
Surprise there.
But wasn't the rumor that spam is going down and people are realizing there's more money in hacking people's accounts?
Right. Seems to be going down. Still too much, right? 255 million websites. That's 21 million new websites this year.
That doesn't count GeoCities.
Remember when there were 10? You and I were looking at the 10 websites in existence that night in that hotel room.
Jeez Louise. I'm that old?
Was, 12 years ago? That was you and me looking at 10 websites that existed.
It is estimated worldwide that there are almost 2 billion internet users, 14% increase, and the biggest increase is, of course, in the third world. And I think a lot of that's powered by mobiles that can handle it, small devices, internet connected. And this is by region. Asia, whoa, 42%. Then Europe, 24%, 13% North America, then Latin America, Africa, the Middle East, and Australia. The number of blogs, 152 million. The number of tweets, 25 billion. There's a lot of wasted time. And the
No,
number
it's not, though, man.
fine.
This is the collective diary of planet Earth. And we started keeping a diary in the past few years.
That's a good way to
and
put it.
it will live for all eternity. Right now, we have such a skewed view of what happened in the 1800s because
That's true.
it was written by other people.
we will know
who
what
weren't
Thomas
there.
Jefferson had for breakfast
We
next
will
time.
Well, and it'll be authentic. I think this is one of the greatest things ever, and we have a tendency to poo-poo it, but I think it's wonderful.
Who's the #1 Twitter user?
Justin Bieber?
Lady Gaga.
Oh.
7.7 million followers.
Hey,
And
I
they're-
follow her.
Little monsters, all of you. 600 million people on Facebook. 250 of them new. 30 billion pieces of content shared on Facebook every month.
Yeah,
Whoa.
That's
Whoa.
I
amazing.
saw this picture. I saw that porn on Facebook they're sharing.
Did you? Yeah, right.
Did you read that story?
I did. I decided not to report on it today because I didn't want to give people any hints. 2
That's
billion.
what I just did. Yeah.
2 billion videos a day watched on YouTube, 35 hours. Remember, it was 12 hours at the beginning of the year. Now 35 hours of video uploaded to YouTube every minute.
Wow.
Again, it's all authentic video. Everything
I
we
agree
saw
with you.
before
It's a
1940 is
revolution.
fake and a
I
lie,
completely-
and I don't believe it.
5 billion images on Flickr, 3,000 uploaded a minute. I think these numbers actually tell a story that I agree with you, Brian, is ultimately democratizing, ultimately very exciting.
Here's the part that blows my mind is when I was a kid, it must have been 87, 88, I read Ender's Game.
Yep.
And you read about Ender's parents reading the blog, essentially what were blog posts before there were blogs and stuff. And damned if that's not exactly where we are right now. And now I find myself reading crazier science fiction about post-singularity universes where people are backing up their memories, and holy crap, does it make me not want to live another 50, 60
I know,
years
that's
to
why
see
I don't
it
want
happen.
to die, because I want to see what happens, not for any other reason. I just can't wait to see what happens. Read
Leo,
more.
I once interviewed a famous Isaac Asimov, and
Wow.
I said, how do you come up with these ideas and stuff? And he said, you can always tell what technologies are coming in the future because all the geeks that are reading science fiction end up growing up to build that stuff. And he said, so just read science fiction and you'll know what's coming. I mean,
I've
that's
talked to
AI
many
came
physicists.
directly out of HAL.
I agree. I've talked to many physicists who said that's exactly why I decided to work on the stuff I worked on, because I read about it in sci-fi.
Now think about
And
this.
I wanted to make it real.
In a weird way, doesn't that make science fiction authors the architects of the future? Because by predicting the future, they shape it. Because I guarantee you, the people working on the iPad were fans of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and they watch them walk around with a data
if you
pad.
listen, and Jerry Purnell was on last week. If you listen to, and the week before, if you listen to Jerry Purnell, he said, you know what that comes from? My book, The Mote in God's Eye, when we had little portable computers, handheld computers, and absolutely, that was a meme, a trope in all the science fiction of that era, and that's why we have the iPad.
Just bring me a space elevator. How fast can we get a space elevator?
I want a flying car.
When I interviewed the founders of Palm years ago after they had just come out with what was then just a PDA, and if you remember, it had like a plastic flap that covered the screen to protect the screen. And I said, "This looks just like the communicator in Star Trek," and he said, "That's why we made it look like that."
You don't think
he told me that too. That was Jeff and
Jeff
Donna.
Hawkins
They were
and
big
Donna
geeks.
Dubinsky.
Jeff Hawkins and Donna Dubinsky.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they were geeks.
If you don't think the StarTAC from Motorola looked the way it did because of Star Trek, you're you're not. You're not.
That's why it was called StarTAC.
Yeah, of course.
He got as close as they could.
Gina Smith is the new editor-in-chief of the old Byte magazine. It's so glad she's bringing back Byte. If you never read Byte, let me tell you, that was what influenced me. I'm sure it influenced most of you listening.
Yep, absolutely.
It was the magazine of the computer revolution. It should be back. Absolutely should be back.
You can go to www.byte.com to email me directly. You get information about it. And if you like our page on Facebook, I know there's a bunch of pages, but it's Byte the Company. That would be really helpful. And I'm looking for ideas. So if you want to email me directly, please do.
And
Love
Gina,
to hear ideas. What do you want to
I
see?
know you don't have anything to do with this. HideTheBoots.com. Social engineering with a kick. Hide the Boots is a business strategy devised by Gina Smith.
Oh, Jesus. You wrote that, Leo, didn't you?
Hide the Boots is more than a 6-point plan. It is a way of life.
Oh, I love and fear the chat room.
I love and fear the chat room. That's our motto for the day. Hey, thank you so much, Gina. Please
Keep me off Wikipedia.
don't be a stranger. We got to come up and visit us at the cottage, and we want to do lots more with you, okay?
Anytime. Now I don't have a tiny baby anymore, so
Thank
I'm
you, Gina.
able to do it. Thanks, Leo.
So great
And
to
great
see
to
you
meet
again.
you guys. What a fantastic show and an honor.
It is. It's a great show, and it's thanks to people like Dwight Silverman, a longtime friend, and the man at the Tech Blog. If you go to blogs.cron.com and /tech blog, it is the place I go to find out what's going on in the tech world. He's a great writer and does a lot of great stuff with his link rolls and so forth. Dwight, it's always great to have you on.
Well, and I love being on, Leo, and we will have you back on Technology Bites soon.
Please, I'd love to do it. Schwood is the... He's in the family.
He's
You're in the family.
just weirdo.
I don't know.
You don't even know what to say.
No, you're a member of the family. I just don't know how the fez fits on the spiky hair, but someday I'll find out.
Well, it's good because I got a 2XL fez, and so I need the spikes to hold it up there. It works out well.
We sent you a big one. I'll get you a little one if you need
No,
it.
I like the one.
All right. Schwood is, gosh, he does so many things. Scam
Just follow
School.
me on Twitter. That's the only way to keep up with
And
things.
that is at Schwood.
SHWOOD, yeah.
Or follow him on his death watch, Afterlife.me. Afterlife theme. No, I'm sorry. Afterlife.me.
We'll put updates on there as well.
I'm telling you, somebody's going to do a... Look, if they've already got to hide the Boots website, I know there's going to be a startup called Afterlife.
Well, I'm just hoping everybody signs up and starts throwing money at us like every other startup.
There you go.
I want my cut of the pie.
I will be on Regis and Kelly on Tuesday. I'm almost embarrassed to admit it.
No, this is huge, man.
No.
Say
I've
hi to
done it
them.
I've been doing it for 10 years.
But now, do you find like unfair ways to plug your TWiT network while you're on there, or do you just figure that the masses are a lost cause when it comes to podcasting?
It's a total lost cause. I mean, the people who watch Regis and Kelly, and they're wonderful people, have no interest in what you just saw here today.
Can't you say, in fact, we have a list of all of these at twit.tv.
Yeah, I could, but what...
And then with that, this could be the gateway drug to get like the rest of Middle America into podcasting.
Now the viewers are like my mother-in-law.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, literally, my mother-in-law is the most loyal
People
viewer ever.
go, they say, Leo's a nice boy.
He knows so much
He
about.
knows so much. I don't understand a word he's saying, but he's such a nice boy.
I like his Russian accent.
Yes, I wish he'd do that hat thing more often. I don't.
God, he's so handsome.
The last time I was on Regis and Kelly, they made me wear a lab coat. That's
What is this, Fox News?
That's
Come
how
on,
bad
what
it is.
that?
That's how bad it is. But no, I love doing it. And you know, Regis and Kelly are great. And guess what I'm going to do? So first I'm going to do the CES Gadget Roundup. That'll be Tuesday the 18th at 9. You know, I'm in the last segment, so probably like the last 3 minutes of the show. I'll be the one where the credits are going over my face as I talk real fast. But then, which is fun, and they've never done this before, I'm going to stick around. We're going to pre-tape a segment. I'm going up to Regis's office, and I'm going to teach him how to use the Twitter.
Oh, that's great.
So that'll be fun.
You will be, you're going to midwife his birth into Twitter. This is huge.
Yeah.
Regis doesn't already use Twitter?
They have an official Twitter account, but Kelly does all the tweeting.
No, this will be great.
The folks over in Network News are so clueless technologically. I had to teach Peter Jennings how to use his email. He used to have a secretary type it in for him as he dictated it.
Right, exactly.
So,
exactly.
I mean, and it's still like that.
I, for one, totally look forward. Anyone Regis's age and position could give a rat's buttocks about what he tweets. Like he will be authentic. Like
he'll be
a lot of people,
he'll be like crap my dad says.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
He'll be like Michael Rooker. If you follow Michael Rooker on Twitter, he's hilarious because it's clearly him tweeting. You could tell when real celebrities are tweeting versus their PR departments.
I'm going to tell him that. I'm going to say we need you to really be authentic on the air, and that's absolutely one of the things I'm going to tell him. So that'll be a lot of fun. I hope you'll watch that. We'll be back next week with This Week in Tech. Don't forget NSFW with Brian Brushwood. What night do you do that with?
Tuesday nights usually. I think we're going to try to squeeze it on Wednesday night. We're having a schedule conflict this week, but you definitely got to hang out live.
You got to be there for the chat.
It's part of it's. You know how it is. It's like a concert. You got to be there live.
You got to be there live, but you can watch it after the fact at twit.tv/NSFW. I'm Leo Laporte. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Another Twit is in the can. And it's good time to break because Gina's getting darker.
Yeah.
What's happening there, Gina?
Darker.
Come back, Gina.
Yeah, well, it's getting dark here in California.
You don't have lights in your room there?
Hey, that was a blast.
It's a fun show, huh?
Yeah, I just thought it was going to go on for like 6 hours. I wasn't quite sure.
It does, basically. In fact, this was a very long show, but I couldn't stop. Jaja, thank you so much, darling.
Oh, thank you very much.
You must stay. You must be on the show again, okay, please?
All you have to do is ask, darling.
Oh, you're great. Look, she's really fading out. We had to cut short. She has
batteries are dying.
She has no electrical lights. She's going darker and darker.